Are you assembling your Star Wars Legion figures and getting ready to paint them? And have you noticed a few gaps in some of the models where, where arms join shoulders and things like that? Stick around, I have a quick tip on what to do when you're looking to fill those gaps. So guys, this is a quick video. I just wanted to show you an idea or a product that you can use when you need to fill gaps, whether there's like a line between the arm and the body or, something like that. And a lot of the time what people are going to suggest is green stuff, which is a 2-part epoxy putty. Now that works obviously, but it's actually a lot of work to use. Like first you gotta buy it, it's not cheap, you gotta find it, you gotta take the 2 parts, you gotta mix them up, you gotta try and smooth it over, etc., etc. But there's actually a product that I think is cheaper, faster, easier to use, and actually gets just as good a result, if not better. So let me show you at the painting desk. Okay guys, so I've picked out a miniature with just a very small gap. Hopefully you'll be able to see it like here where his shoulder joins, or his arm joins to his shoulder. It's so small that, I'll be honest, for me, I don't even know if I'd bother filling that, and I just wanted to grab something as an example. Now a lot of people will recommend, for gap filling, they'll recommend this stuff, which is, I've done a terrible job of storing it. It's called green stuff most of the time. And what it is you take a bit of the yellow and a bit of the blue, you mix them together, and it creates a green putty. And then you take some of that putty, you put it in the gap, and you smooth it out and stuff like that. Now, I find this better to use for larger gaps, things like on metal models, you get some pretty big gaps, or even resin where there's some warping. Or on a joint that I want to make really strong, and maybe I've pinned it and I want to make it stronger, because this stuff will dry rock hard, and that's great for its uses. I try to avoid it most of the time because I don't enjoy working with it, but it is what it is. It works pretty well for various uses. But for a lot of people, if you're working on, let's say, Star Wars Legion, and you're getting these very small gaps in the model, I would actually recommend stuff called, let's see here, plastic putty from Vallejo. Okay, it comes in the model color range. This is a pretty old bottle, as you can see. This stuff's great. Like it comes out. I'm going to use a palette for this. You don't really, or like the bottom of one, you don't really need to. You could just put it on a piece of paper or something. But it comes out like this sort of white putty, and you can use just a tiny bit if you want. You can add a little water to it if you want to, and I mean like tiny amount. I just wet the toothpick here, and it just maybe will help it to go into the gap a little bit better. You could use a brush if you want, but what I do is I just take a bit on my toothpick, let's say a pointed toothpick, and I kind of just dab it along the very small gap that I'm trying to fill. So like I said, this mostly works for these smaller gaps on like the troop miniatures and stuff like that. Don't worry if you get it in outside of the gap, because I'm going to show you how I sort of finish it off. So you put it on like that, and usually what I'll do, you could take a damp piece of paper towel, but as usual, or as I often do, I'm going to use my finger for this. And you just smooth it over the gap. And if you've gotten, let's say, a little bit too much, let's say on some of the parts you didn't want it, like here on the belt and stuff, just wipe it off with your finger, or a wet brush would also work just fine. And that's it. It's super fast, and it does it great, in my opinion, especially for gaming models. I mean, we're not, as I say all the time, we're not trying to win a contest here. We're trying to make our models look good for some battles. That'll work. I mean, this dries real quick. By the way, you got to wash it off your fingers when you're done. That is surprisingly, well, get a scrub pad or something, because it does dry pretty hard. And that's it. It's done. It's filled. It's be ready to paint in about 15 minutes or so, maybe even less. And this stuff is like, I wish I had a price tag on it right now, but I think it's only like $4 or $5 for a bottle of this stuff, and it will last you an eternity of these kind of miniatures. And again, I think a lot of the time this isn't even really strictly necessary, but if you're getting advice if you have a couple that had gaps that you're not happy with, this is great stuff to use. Plastic putty from Vallejo, and there you have it. Hope this was useful. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff if you don't mind, and we'll see you for the next video. Thanks.